everyone, I am Chandana Banerjee and welcome to my channel. And today I wanted to answer a question that one of my viewers has left me. Her question was that we are not a Hindi speaking family and how do we start teaching Hindi to our child at home? And it's a very relevant question because even we are Bengalis and we speak Bengali at home. So teaching my son Hindi has taken a little more thinking and a little more effort than teaching him Bengali, which my husband and I speak at home, or English, which is something that my son, picked up very easily through some of the animations that he used to watch and through the storybooks that we used to read at home. So let's get on with the topic. But before we move on, let me request you to subscribe to my channel if you would like to continue receiving these videos about homeschooling, about launching a work from home solopreneur lifestyle, and creating a purpose driven and joyful stay at home lifestyle. So back to today's video topic, which is how do you start teaching Hindi to your child, especially if you're not a Hindi speaking family and if you speak a different regional language at home. So let's start with a little bit of my story. Like I said, my son is 7 years old and he speaks English and Bengali fluently. When he was a baby, we used to speak to him in Bengali. So that was the first language that he started speaking when he started speaking. Then English was something that he used to watch in cartoons. My son was very fond of these cartoons called Holly's Kingdom and Peppa Pig, and he would watch them, and before we knew it, he was picking up the language from them. Also, we I have been reading storybooks to him since he was 2 months old. So English was something that probably he was always listening to, and he picked it up without really us trying to teach him these two languages. So then came Hindi. We wanted him to, in fact, I have always wanted him to learn these three languages at par fluently, which is Bengali, English, and Hindi. But Hindi has been taking him a bit of time because, like I said, his exposure is more to Bengali and English at home. So now what do we do? How did we start teaching him Hindi? One of the things when I started teaching him the Hindi alphabet was using a book which is more attractive. I looked through many Hindi books, Hindi alphabet books, the Hindi Varnamala books, but none of them were attractive. In fact, I found them pretty boring. So this is a book which caught my attention and it has really worked fabulously for us. This book is called A is for Anar, my first Hindi alphabet book. And this has been independently published and it's been written by Aruna Hatti. I think you might find this book on Amazon and it's by Gyana Publishing, gyana.com. And Gyana Publishing is an independent publishing house by this American Indian lady called Aruna Hatti. Okay. Now the book is so beautiful. In fact, this book is falling apart because we have used it like for the past a couple of years. And these have beautiful illustrations. See? And let me just show you if it's something like this. So I feel if a book is beautiful to look at, then children gravitate towards those more easily. In fact, I found it better teaching him through these books than through any of the books that I had first seen. Let me just show you a few more pages before we get on. So this book, is for Anar, my first Hindi alphabet book, was like a huge, I would say, learning tool when we started learning the Hindi alphabet. If you feel that if you want to teach your child Hindi or the Hindi alphabet in a much more interesting way, I will strongly recommend this book. So one is get a book which your child enjoys. Another tip that I would suggest is reading out Hindi stories. Every child learns differently. Some learn visually, some learn by listening, some learn by writing. My son is definitely learns a lot by listening and by looking at things and doing hands-on activities. So for such a child, I feel reading books is a huge thing. And even if whatever style your child reads, I think books are a no fail way of teaching children. Read books and do not expect them to memorize the stories and narrate it to you. Instead, just dive into the world of these stories and enjoy it. So, these are some of these in Hindi books, Hindi story books. Each of these books is by prathambooks.org, and I have recommended these books earlier too in my homeschooling videos. These are so pocket friendly, and these are so beautifully illustrated and written that these are really are a treat for any child and any parent who wants to sit together and read. Let me show you a few other books. These are simple stories. There are different levels, like you see there are different levels, 1, 2, 3, 4. So depending on that level, you can level of reading, you can purchase these books. Here's another one. This My son really enjoys this book. My son also loves robos, so we have bought him a lot of these stories with robos. So reading books, reading these Hindi books, Hindi story books, is like a really good way of exploring language in a fun way, rather than trying to get them to learn something by rote, or just because it is there in the textbooks. So currently we read a lot of these books, and I'm only going to keep adding to my library of Hindi story books. Another thing that I would suggest is let your kids watch good quality Hindi animation movies. So, some of where the language is rich, the illustrations, the picturization is rich, and something that really engages your children. Two of the cartoons that my son enjoys watching in Hindi are Mighty Bheem. We put on the Hindi narration for him in that. And he also enjoys Little Krishna in Hindi. So, as he's watching this with the actions, children can correlate what is happening. Another animation that he really enjoys is Kalari Kids. All these you will find on Netflix or Amazon and even on YouTube. So, do check these out. Also, get on YouTube and see if you can find any good Hindi animation clips or any Hindi movies for kids which your children will enjoy. I feel when children are really engrossed in something they're really enjoying, they're learning much better. Another tip would be, if you have friends, or if they have friends who speak Hindi fluently, encourage your kids to speak in Hindi with them. Like my son, he doesn't speak Hindi very fluently, and he hesitates often to speak in Hindi to people who are better in Hindi than him. But then we keep telling him it's okay to make mistakes. You will learn like that. And he has been making the effort to speak in Hindi. And the more they converse, the more in context they will be able to put that language. Another would be, if you are going out on an errand to a shop, take your kids along on the errand and encourage them to interact with the shopkeepers in Hindi. Learning how to use that language in practical life, I think, is another way of helping them learn a language in a more fun way. Now, if you're teaching Hindi alphabet to your kids, I recommended that book right at the beginning. But I would also recommend another tool which we used when you're learning what the Hindi alphabet is like, or learning word formation, matras. I would say get these magnetic alphabets. These alphabets are available on Amazon. I might leave a link below. So let me just show these. These are all magnetic, and what we do is we put them on we have a like a steel cupboard. We put them on that and use that as a board. We found this as a very very helpful tool, because initially when I would just write the alphabets, my son would find it very boring. But when we started playing this game, I would give him a word to write, and he would pick the alphabets and write it. He really started enjoying and understanding Hindi Varnamala and word formation and matras. So I have, like I will show you, I have put, this is an old tiffin box, and I have put all these alphabets in here, and we use it to learn words. So these are some of my simple tips on how to start incorporating Hindi at home, or how to introduce your kids to Hindi, whether it is the written word, the read word, or just the spoken Hindi. I hope you found these helpful. Again, if you are a Hindi speaking family who speaks fluent Hindi at home, of course, these tips might feel a little childish to you. But these tips are specifically for all of you who speak a regional language at home and who are wondering how to open the doors to this beautiful language of Hindi. So if you enjoyed this video, do give us a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel for more videos on homeschooling, on how to create a work from home life as a homeschooling parent or as a mom at home, and how to create a joyful and purpose driven stay at home lifestyle. I will see you in my next video. Till then, take care and bye bye.